the digital delight of jazz and what's more on WFDU HD2, TNEC.
Every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won.
What's going on, good folk? What happening, blues people? This is, as you know, Jack Dappa Blues every Wednesday on WFDU HD2. We take over the internet airwaves with nothing but blues, 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 and more blues. Blues history, blues culture, blues tradition, blues heritage. And as most of you know who listen, and those who are new, welcome. The first hour of the show is dedicated to platforming those in the blues community and what they are doing. And today, we have a special guest. Yes, a special guest. Lynn Orman, founder of Orman Music and Media. And she has some big things going on, and she's been in the blues community for a long time doing a lot. Lynn, what's going on?
Hey, I am so happy to be here with you, Jack, and to celebrate this great American culture, the blues.
Absolutely. I hear you're doing big things. First of all, I'm happy that you're on the show. I've been talking about the last couple of weeks on the show. I've been talking about this great blues concert that happened in Chelsea. One would say revitalizing Chicago blues in New York because it was truth. And that's where we met, correct?
That's right. Well, I did meet your acquaintance first by our mutual friend and one of my board of directors, actually, on my Women of the Blues Foundation, Garland Floyd. And he connected us at the Big Head Todd, the Big Head Blues Club, which was at the Highline Ballroom for that amazing tribute to Willie Dixon. It was really quite a concert.
It sure was. Garland is a great dude and wears many hats. So now, Miss Lynn, let's get to it. First, you mentioned something that we need to discuss. Prior to you mentioning that, and prior to us discussing it, you care to tell the good folk that's listening where you're talking to me from?
I'm so excited to be here after a wonderful ride on the rails on the Lincoln Express from Chicago to St. Louis. I am now sitting in the brand new National Blues Museum in the heart of St. Louis.
Can y'all feel what's going on right now? This is serious. This is historic. So now let's talk about your movement, your 501c, and the mission behind it.
Okay, well, thank you. And the reason for me being in this beautiful museum right now is the upcoming traveling exhibit, Women of the Blues, a coast-to-coast exhibit, a coast-to-coast collection, which will be in the Scott Diane McQuaig Family Gallery here at the National Blues Museum. And it really is a celebration. It is the voices of blues women and that are strategic to the social landscape of our lives, really. And the nonprofit is the Women of the Blues Foundation, which is to encapsulate and to help lift the platform of women who are singers, musicians, songwriters in the business that really have been here to be stewards to the great fabric of American music, and I'm proud to say that there are a lot of supportive groups out there, as you know, for women in the blues, but I think the foundation is going to really have a lot of longevity in helping to educate, to helping to archive and present, shows, collections like this, which we're doing at the National Blues Museum in St. Louis. So I'm excited. It's a new thing for me, and it's actually only the collection. This is only the third exhibit that they're having in their gallery here. So since they've opened.
Wow, that's humongous. You got in there early while it's still new and fresh, and you're bringing some great history and heritage. And I must say, I agree with you, there are a lot of, there's a platform for women in blues. I commend what you're doing, because one of the things on the shows that I have following this, which is the predominantly music show, I go out of my way to play Lizzie Kid Douglas 2 to 4 times every week, because Memphis Minnie does not get the recognition she deserves as Queen of the Blues. Her catalog of music is so large, not to mention she was thrown down like the dudes from the 19-teens to the 50s. So I commend what you're doing. Now, what I want to ask you is 2 things. First, what inspired this?
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm pretty much have been a social activist since I'm about 12 years old. No. Really, you can find me in picket lines. You can just find me protesting,
I dig it.
Really, whether it was the Vietnam War, civil rights, somebody in the neighborhood didn't have a toy, I would be out.
Somebody didn't have a toy.
Yeah, that's it. You got to speak truth to power.
That's your mantra? I dig it.
It's my mantra. Actually, this is kind of interesting. Many cities, as you know, as I found out, celebrate the blues and have an incredible amount of blues women. But I think Chicago being the capital, sorry, anybody out there doesn't think so, but, being the capital of the blues, we have got so many amazing blues women in our city. And during the election in 2012, I brought together 12 Chicago blues women. The show is called Chicago Blues Mamas for Obama.
Okay.
And actually, I have to say, I'll go back one step a little further. It was inspired by 2 amazing women, Peggy Brown out of Jackson, Mississippi, and Carol Marble, who is in Jackson, Mississippi now, but was in Indianola. And they got together and they became the Blues Mamas. And I'm like, well, you can't just have Blues Mamas in Jackson, Mississippi.
Right.
I mean, there was this great journey from the migration from Mississippi to Chicago. So I'll be your Chicago Blues Mama. And they still are. They're very good friends, and they represent some extraordinary musicians in the South, including Dorothy Moore and some just really amazing women and men. And so we kind of put this little Chicago, Mississippi Blues Mamas little organization together. And during the election in 2012, I just had this crazy vision, which I usually do, to bring together the women of the blues, to have their voices be heard for an election that would be so precedent, that I knew in their hearts and souls meant so much to them, to reelect an African-American president. And they wanted to be a part of this unique, incredible evening. So prior to the actual concert, I brought them together, and we did a photo shoot. Jack, and any of your listeners out there, go to ChicagoBluesMamas.com. You have to see this. It is like a 2-minute little, or maybe 3-minute little video of I'll name the girls for you, but they are all chanting Chicago Blues Mamas for Obama. Barack, if you're president, if you're listening to Jack, which I hope you are,
that would be nice.
It is such an unbelievable tribute to him that we got chosen as first of all, it was the second election, and he was in Chicago. There was an amazing, everybody gathered in Grant Park in Chicago, so there were hundreds of, thousands and thousands of people at Grant Park. We were at a theater called the Main Stage. We had the voice of B.B. King's Bluesville, Big Lou Johnson. He was our host and MC with Cookie Taylor.
Wow.
Coco Taylor's daughter.
Right.
And Michael Jennings, who is an NBA, an NFL retired football player from the Chicago Bears. And the back screen had the projection, an American flag waving, and kept putting the projections up of the election. It was fired up and ready to go. I just can't tell you it. It was one of the most hair-raising, most unbelievable, just heart-throbbing evening to be on that stage with all of these women and watch the projections go on. And in between the projections, they'd sing a blues song.
Wow. I mean, that's history and humongous on so many levels. First of all, Barack Obama starting his political career in Chicago, right? And him being a fan of the blues, it just all makes sense. Was that part of your thought process when you were putting this together?
Yes, absolutely. Yep, it was. And we couldn't have done it anywhere else. I mean, and as Peaches Staton, one of the women who performed, said, Lynn, I've got photos. I have one photo that will be in this show, and it is of all of the women just raising their American flags in a spirit that was so high and infectious and excited about this election, with the projections that say, predicted President Barack Obama.
I dig it. So now, you mentioned that you have pictures on this tour that you're presenting right now. Well, not now, but you're about to present at the National Blues Museum. Tell us about these pictures and the connection to everything you're doing.
Okay, well, the exhibit actually is up right now. If you are in Chicago, it's at the University of Chicago Medical Center. It's actually in the hallways as you're walking, if you're going to ICU or to chemotherapy or to a doctor's appointment. It's about 30 feet long, and it's on the walls. And as one of the security guards told us the other day, he said, this is one of the most wonderful exhibits that have ever been there, because it's living and breathing. It's a human. You feel like you've been touched by these people. There are there's over 70 photographs of blues women of all ages and ethnic backgrounds, and or different orientations who represent blues styles ranging from Southern soul blues to Chicago blues to rock blues to jump blues. And it's a traveling exhibit, and it's just created to honor these soulful singers of the truth of, which embodies the essence of the blues, and the photographers who have shot them across the world.
Wow. So let's take a step back for a minute, because you do a lot. This is just one of the projects that you are working on and have been working on in the blues community and the blues industry. So before we talk about all the other things that you're doing, which are huge, by the way, where did you meet the blues? How did you fall in love with the blues? How did this journey start?
Oh, boy. Well, Honey Boy Edwards said, if you don't love the blues, you have a hole in your soul. So I was walking around with this hole in my soul for a long time. My father was a musician and a songwriter, although he was mostly big band, Louis Jordan, and he was a jazz artist.
Okay.
And so I had a lot of that in the house going on, and gospel and blues. He was a military man, so he was in a Navy band. And anyway, that's a whole long story. But my dad used to take me down to Maxwell Street. Have you ever been to Maxwell Street?
I have not yet.
Oh my gosh! Okay, come on now. You gotta take you to Maxwell Street. Garland knows Maxwell Street.
Well, I'll let you and Garland escort me down there. We get some blues and going. Go ahead, tell me the story.
Well, Maxwell Street was known as the third place. That's where so many of the artists came when they migrated. It was really the place where it was set up for almost like a football yard filled with everything, socks and tires, and there was also a few little furniture stores there, and in the furniture stores, in this one particular furniture store is where little Walter actually began playing. There's this Irving, I can't remember his name, the Russian store owner. He was an immigrant, and he had a furniture store and I think like a television appliance store. And the artists used to come in there, forgive me, I can't remember, but I'll look it up. But I think it was Ornade Records.
Okay.
They would go there and they would play, and it is actually where little Walter sort of electrified the harmonica. That's where he would play, and they would go out on Maxwell Street, and it was called busking.
Right.
And they would play, and they would put out their buckets, and that's where they would make money. And you'd find artists like Junior Wells there, and Uncle Charlie Wilson, probably Big Joe Williams, Little Walter for sure, Eddie Burks, Blind Arvella Gray. As a matter of fact, it's kind of a known fact, actually, that, he was living in a cardboard box under a viaduct somewhere by Maxwell Street when he wrote this song, oh my gosh, the song that Big Mama Thornton sang, and then Elvis sang.
You're talking about Hound Dog.
It's All Right, Mama. Is it It's All Right, Mama?
It's All Right, Mama? Okay.
I'd have to check myself on that. But, so many of these amazing blues musicians, that's where they would go down and they would play and they would busk. And then there was a guy by the name of Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Johnson actually had a blues bus down there, and he would sell, he'd sell vinyl, he'd sell the newest records in his bus. And so a lot of these artists started on Maxwell Street, and I got to hear them when I was probably 11, 12, 13, maybe 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, because my father would take me down to Maxwell Street.
Mm. That's first-hand introduction.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. I didn't really even know, though, that I loved it so much until later on, because I then, I was kind of like I said, I was protesting. I was I was the consummate hippie chick. I was flying the family stone, and, I was Mavis Staples and Pop Staples and the Curtis Mayfield and Ramsey Lewis.
Wow. You do know the irony in your statement, though?
Huh?
Hey, all those people played, except for the Staples, who played pure gospel blues. Everybody you mentioned played a offshoot of the blues.
Right. Rhythm and blues.
That's right.
Right.
So it's still there, and I just threw that out there as a proof to some of the audience members who have not yet understood or learned that the blues is the foundation of American music. But please continue.
That's right. You're absolutely right. It is the quintessential American music, and as Willie Dixon said, the blues is the roots, everything else is the fruit.
There you go. So now you're a hippie. You're protesting. So now you're protesting. You're running around, but even though you and I are laughing, this is serious, because it actually all falls hand in hand to what the blues and the old Negro spirituals meant to the people who were singing it. So where did that point come when I don't know if you realized, or it just saw, because sometimes you personally realize it as the individual, or it just falls in your lap, and then you realize, wow, I've been doing this. When was that point when you put the activism and the blues together and began this mission? I mean, the entire mission, not just the initial one we just spoke about.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for asking that question. Because I think it really became so much a part of me when I was doing jazz for a very, very long time. I was booking jazz, doing publicity for jazz, from Ramsey Lewis to Nancy Wilson, just a lot of jazz artists. And I met a label owner by the name of Michael Frank, who owned Earwig Music label in Chicago. And he represented a young man at the time by the name of David Honeyboy Edwards.
Mm.
And I think I didn't realize what thought-provoking feelings I would have, how engaged I would become in not only the music, but the truth.
Mm.
He was about the truth. He was about the story. And I have to say a comparison to two things. One, I went to Mississippi the first time, and it wasn't actually with Honeyboy the first time. The first time was with Eddie the Chief Clearwater.
Okay.
10 years ago, when he got a blues marker in Macon, Mississippi, which is I think they're called Black Valley, the Black Prairie.
Right, exactly.
Right. And I went there with Eddie Clearwater and his wife Renee, and we were meeting Willie King and Lurie and Steve Bell, Carrie Bell's sons.
Right.
And to get a blues marker and have an unveiling. You know what? I didn't know until I stepped foot on that sacred ground how transforming the blues would be in my life.
Mm.
And that's really what happened. I mean, I went with Eddie to his one-room schoolhouse,
mm-hmm.
went to where we stood in this place where the marker was being unveiled, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And across the street, down the street from that same place where Eddie was a boy, and now he hadn't been there in over 30 years, was a bank on one side was an electric sign that said, Eddie the Chief Clearwater Day. Claimed Eddie the Chief. And across the street from that, Jack, was a theater. And the theater was a segregated theater where when he was a kid last, and it was still standing, he was only allowed to sit upstairs.
Right.
He was not allowed to walk through the front doors of that theater.
Right.
So
Right.
talk about playing the blues.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'm trying to tell you. It's the real thread, or shall I say the real cotton of the blues.
That was that was one of my first time experiences of witnessing a very intimate expression.
Right.
From a steward, from a master.
Right, who actually was there and returned, and you can see, you were able to see both sides of the fence, so to speak.
Yes, yes. And then traveling back many times with Honey Boy, and hearing his story. He has an amazing book called "The World Don't Owe Me Nothing," and he died. I think it's 4 or 5 years ago now, at 96 years old.
Right.
And his stories, and being at the B.B. King Museum with him in Indianola, being in Jackson, going to Shaw that's where he grew up, where he was born. This is that's what the blues is. The blues is the truth.
And that was the moment. Those were the moments that led you to everything else that you've been doing.
I didn't know. No, I didn't know when I went to Holly Springs, R.L. Burnside, and Country Hill Blues, how that was going to affect my soul.
I dig it. So let's talk about some of these things that you've been doing after those experiences, because I know you radio, you do a lot of writing for the blues. Let the people know all the stuff you're doing.
Oh goodness. Okay, well, this is funny because I usually interview people, so I hope I'm doing okay.
No, you're doing great.
Well, I am a publicist, a blues publicist. So I work with a few artists besides for producing some shows. But Eddie the Chief Clearwater is one of my amazing artists that I'm so honored to work with. He will be 82 years old on January the 10th. And if you're in Chicago, please come out. Actually, this Saturday night he'll be at Buddy Guy's, and January 6th he has an amazing blues birthday party in Evanston, Illinois, at a place called Space, and just check out his website at eddieclearwater.com. And then I also represent Big Bill Morganfield, the son of Muddy Waters.
That's right.
Yeah, second son of Muddy Waters.
Right.
On the show, he has a brand new CD out called Bloodstains on the Wall on his label called Black Shuck Records.
Black Shuck?
Black Shuck Records, and you can go to bigbillmorganfield.com. His CD is amazing.
I'm not surprised.
I know it really is. It's got and actually in the upcoming issue of Big City Rhythm and Blues magazine, I will be. I have a feature piece. It's the family issues. I have a feature on Big Bill Morganfield, Mud Morganfield, and Joseph and Mercy Morganfield. So it's kind of the whole McKinley Morganfield gang.
No, that's really groovy, because I know Robbie, Joseph, Big Bill. We've been trying to get an interview, and my main man Mud who's going to be recurring guest very soon. Actually, I got something special to do for Mud for the Jack Dappa program. But yeah, those are some heavy hitters. There's some people in the blues community that are artists right now that's always saying, "Yo, man, I want to play with Mud. I want to like this one guy, Professor Harp, great musician. He played with Big Bill. He's trying to get to play with Mud next. He said he played with Muddy. He played with Big Bill. He said, once I get to play with Mud, that means I played with the heavy hitters of the Morganfields."
That's great. Well, and you've got, this show that we saw in New York. I actually saw it, ended up seeing it twice in New York. I went out to Tarrytown to go see it again. And, you couldn't ask for a better tribute to Willie Dixon. And their last performance, Jack, was on the night that Marie Dixon passed away.
Right. And I know that was extremely heartfelt to those gentlemen because they all have a real story with Willie and his wife, and also blessings going out to the Dixon family. Right.
Well, that was, I loved it because you had Lonnie Baker Brooks, Lonnie Brooks' son.
That's right.
Billy Branch, who played with Willie Dixon.
That's right.
Right, and Mud, of course, and then Big Head Todd, who was just such a huge fan and a visionary to put this show together.
Right.
Incredible. Right.
Wow, this is you got your hands in a lot of things, young lady. What's going on?
I don't know. I guess I just wanted to fill that hole that Honey Boy was talking about.
That's right. Now, you have something going on with a partner of yours, correct?
Well, a couple of different things going on. I'm not sure which partner you're talking about. Abby?
Yes.
Well, Abby is, as I was going to try and get her on the line. I think she may be on the line, but I'm not sure how to patch it in. Abby and I just do Chicago blues and the New York State in line. So we kind of cover the blues in the Midwest and on the East Coast. So she has been doing some great reviews. Her site is called Socially Sparked. I'll make sure that I get you that information. She just did a nice story on the whole Big Head Club, and then also I think she's going to be doing she did a story for me actually on Big Bill Morganfield and then on Bobby Rush. And let me just say, Bobby Rush, by the way, we could just talk about this for a second. Bobby yesterday was nominated for a Grammy.
He sure was. It well deserved at that. That's porcupine meat. That's the king of the chitlin circuit. He's not a game. I really appreciate not just his music, not just his legacy, but the candor he has when he sits down and talks to you. You know what I'm saying?
The truth, yes.
He's a good. Now, let's talk about your music and media company for a little bit, because you have your hands in a bit of everything, which you expressed. But what is your goal for this outside of the activism, outside of your vision of preserving the legacy of the current blues women? What is your goal for your music and media company in the blues?
Well, I really think that it's all one. I mean, I love that I created this Women of the Blues traveling exhibit, coast to coast exhibit. But I didn't expect it to take off like this. I mean, as a media company, I think it's a very deeply rooted goal, and that mission and goal is preservation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Of kind of call myself a historiographer.
Okay.
You like that?
I like it.
I like it too. A historiographer where I not only take photos, but preserve the stories and tell the stories. And when you look back, really, it's the legends, the rising stars. Everybody's got an amazing story to tell. And, why wait until the people are gone to tell them?
Right. That's how I see it. Absolutely.
It's what you're doing is so important. Your show is so significant because you are giving people a voice, to tell their life story and how they're, whether it's the lyric, whether it's the chords, whether it's their birthright, their legacy, whatever. You're giving them a format to tell their story.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. As you know, this is a lot of hard work. Let me ask you a question, because, and this is outside of, almost outside of what you do, but it has to do with what you do. And I ask most of the musicians this question when they come on the air, but I haven't had an opportunity to ask a representative of the musicians, right? You've come through several eras of the music industry, right? From analog to CD to now digital. How is this digital platform different, and is it helping or hindering what you do for the artists?
Wow. Anything with change is always challenging.
Absolutely.
Right?
Excuse me.
But, and I know the industry is always trying to figure it out as well. I think the digital age has been magnificent, and in one way, it's difficult for a lot of the independent artists that have small labels,
right?
That aren't able to, unless they're on the bandstand, they're not feeling like they can sell their music. Their CDs, their actual physical product. But it is a challenge. But I do think that the digital age is really giving new platforms for being able to sell your music, whether it be through Google Play, iTunes, Amazon. I just looked at something, oh my gosh, yesterday, and I went, oh my God, I've got to do this for my artists. Instagram. People are now putting not only their photos up there, but they're putting their music on there. It's another way of being able to get the word out there. You can, it's Jack, it's just, to me, it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, it is, because once you get a handle on something, it seems like it already changed.
Exactly. And that's why it's so funny that you say that, because at the Grammys, that was one of the things they said, you put it out there and then tomorrow it changes. So, we're just constantly trying to figure it out. I mean, the artists, that are lucky enough to have, there's Sound Exchange, there's Sirius XM radio, there's all kinds of different platforms for trying to get the music out there. But, I'm still very old school. I mean, on my radio show, I still CD decks. I'm still playing the CDs and spinning vinyl. That's my favorite format. I haven't figured out how to catch into the YouTube videos and all that other stuff yet. But what do you think? Do you think it's been positive, or?
I think it's I don't want to say catch-22, but like everything else, it comes with a great and a not so great. I think for people like us, and when I say us, people who are professional at a professional point, I think it's great because we came through as one of my mentors used to say, the trenches, right? I know what it's like carrying 5, 6, 10, 20 crates to an event, crates of records to an event to play music. You know, I know what it's like recording to reel and having to carry these big boxes of reels to a studio and DATs and things. So to transfer over to digital is still a certain respect of the technicality, but anybody can wake up and say, "Hey, I can use this platform," and that's not a bad thing. That's actually a great thing because it's direct to consumer. However, I think it gives a false pretense because you still have to do grassroots work. Like, look at you, for instance. You're still up and traveling to different places because you got to see people face to face, and you got to meet them, and you got to do this and you got to do that. I believe the digital era kind of gave people, not everybody, but some people, an idea that you don't have to do the grassroots work. You don't have to go to the local bar or church or school and perform. You know, you could just make a song, put it up on the internet, and tomorrow you'll be a platinum or a Grammy winning artist. And it doesn't work like that. You still need to get out there and do what you got to do.
Right. Well, that being said, and I'm gonna ask you if I can talk a little bit about like the Chicago Blues All Stars. But that being said, you know, Chance has probably the most nominations, along with Beyonce and Rihanna, for the Grammys, and his was, I think, the coloring book was like digitally streamed, or it wasn't even a physical product. So, yeah, I mean, I believe in getting young people out there to see live music. You know, that's it. You gotta see it. You gotta feel it. You gotta touch it.
That's right.
We grew up, right?
That's exactly how we grew up. And I mean, you got to get the people our age out to come see live. We got to get everyone out to come see live music.
That's it. It's right. It's not all in the computer. So may I plug a couple of different events that I have coming up?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this coming Sunday, December 11th, the Chicago Blues All Stars, which is the original band of Willie Dixon, including Willie Dixon's son on bass.
Now this is interesting. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Freddie. Oh my God, he looks like Willie. He sounds like Willie. He's amazing. Dr. Jimmy Tillman, who's on drums, and he's come up under so many different legends. He's the drummer in the band. And then John Watkins, he is the guitarist. John had a stroke about a month ago, and this is a fundraiser for him. It's a John Watkins Recovery Fund at a place called Motor Road Brewing Company at 2337 South Michigan Avenue, just down the street from, actually, there were a lot of record companies on this street, Jack. It was called Music Row, and Music Row kind of flowed into Motor Row.
Wow.
So that is where it's going to be, and that evening starts at 3 p.m., goes to 8 p.m., but from 6 to 8 p.m., Jimmy Tillman and Freddie Dixon and John have come up with the Chicago Blues All-Stars Blues Role Model and Leadership Awards for outstanding band leaders. And, okay, you're going to love this because they are honoring 3 of the statesmen of Chicago, Eddie Clearwater, Phil Johnson, and Jimmy Johnson.
Wow.
And they are going to play a little, sing a little, and they're getting these beautiful awards for their significant role in keeping the blues alive in Chicago.
Well, that's groovy. Let me ask you, wait, first of all, that's groovy. I hope you guys are paying attention. If you're in the Chicago area, you need to go check this out. before we finish the interview, I'll make sure Lynn repeats where you can find all the information of everything she's discussing and doing so you can stay on top of it. Apparently you were born and raised in Chicago.
I certainly was, south side of Chicago, Jeffrey Manor, Bowen High School. Garland's a little bit younger than me. We went to Bowen High School.
Oh, both of you went there?
Yep.
Oh, wow. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah. I moved out and ended up graduating from Niles North, but he and I both were from that beautiful east side of Chicago, south side of Chicago, Jeffrey Manor. Yep.
Okay. So would it be safe to say that it's how would you say, specifying your movement a little bit more, making it less broad? Would it be safe to say that it's important to you to platform and preserve the history and blues of Chicago? Because that's what I'm getting.
I love the history of the blues of Chicago, although I am a sister of Mississippi.
Okay. Right, because you're part of the Blues Mamas.
Yeah, well. And, so many of the artists that I have interviewed and have worked with and had the opportunity to archive their stories, they're from Mississippi. As a matter of fact, if you folks want to go out, I've got a documentary out called 6 Generations of the Blues from Mississippi to Chicago. And the website is sixgenerationsoftheblues.com, SIX, generationsoftheblues.com. And, we love to show this film anywhere and everywhere because the interviews are beautiful, they're poignant. Many of the artists that we interviewed are gone. Big Jack Johnson,
right?
Boy, Aaron Burton, some Johnny Drummer is thank God still here, and he's in it, and to just everybody should really see some of these amazing documentaries on the blues. There's one out there, Jack, right now that I just saw that was directed by Sam Pollard, Spike Lee's editor. It's called 2 Trains Running. Right,
I heard about this.
Oh my God! I'm telling you, I saw it twice. It is compelling. There's so many. You know what? I should do that. I should somewhere put up a site where I just do recommendations of documentaries because they really tell the stories so well. And that's an amazing film. But 6 Generations of the Blues is mine. The Honey Boy Edwards History of the Blues is another one that is really remarkable, and it features Lucinda Williams, Keith Richards, Ray and Robert Cray talking about him. God, I could just go on and talk.
Well, that's what the platform's for, Lynn.
It is. There's just some really incredible historic films. I Am the Blues, great things. And I think it's really important, and that's why this Women of the Blues show, a coast-to-coast collection, is about the women of the blues. And hopefully, if your listeners are in St. Louis, if they want to find out more about the exhibit, they could go to my website, which is womenoftheblues.com. And they could also go to nationalbluesmuseum.org. In case that's their website to find out more. It's going to open on January the 7th, run through March 31st. And we plan on having some great events and performances in March during National Women's Month. So, feel free to follow me on Facebook. It's Lynn Orman Wife. I know I'm a little filled up on my friends there, but you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Orman Music. On Twitter, Music and Media Girl, and at Music Media Mom. And
you said Music Media Mom?
Music Media Mom, yep.
See, we're learning some new stuff. Now, where does this name come from? Share.
Oh, boy. Well, I besides for all this stuff I do, my best productions are my children, and I've got 4 of them, so...
See, now that's what I'm talking about. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. That is the best production. I agree because I have 5, so it's beautiful.
Yeah, they're awesome kids. I'm just they get me grounded. I mean, when Garland or someone says, "Well, why didn't you answer my call?" I'm like, "Well, because I was talking to my son."
Exactly.
My daughter.
Right. I do. They come first. And our job more than anything is to be the initial showers of their importance. That's it. And hopefully you can empower them, and make them empower them. Know that, your challenges in life, and they see some of the challenges of the people that I work with and what they've gone through, and they use that as a tool in their toolkit to better themselves, That's right. Or better the world. Right. Well, you got to start with yourself, so you're absolutely right. Are they into music at all? Because it sounds like they're having a similar experience as you as a child. Wow. Yeah, I sure took them to a lot of places. I'm sure you have, because that's what we do. Our children have seen live blues and jazz, and they get up there and sing too. So what's their experience or feeling about the music and what Mommy does? Oh, wow. Well, I think they know that's my that's their extended family, is the blues family. And my youngest is he's great. He just graduated from college, and he has been with me to the Grammys. He pushed Time Top and Honey Boy wheelchairs down. He's had conversations with these elders that, you can go through school, but you can't get the experience of this human bonding with individuals and people who have walked the walk, I do. That's been right. That's it. So they think I'm a little crazy. But I think it resonates deeply within them. I really do. All right. Well, you know what? Let me ask you this. As we come to a close, after everything we discussed, what do you want people to take away? Well, this is 2 parts. What do you want people to take away from your exhibit, and what do you want people to take away from your countless efforts in preserving blues music and history? Wow. Well, I'm very much a socially conscious person. I want people to recognize the history and where this great American music came from. I hope that we can continue to educate our youth and let them know that, it was really great that the Rolling Stones play the blues, but where did they get it from? Let their children, let them know where it was passed down from. And, let's just keep the stories out there. And, don't
don't lose the music in the schools. Education is so important. We need to expose, everybody to museums like the National Blues Museum here, the Blues Hall of Fame in Memphis, the Delta Blues Museum in Clarksdale, the National Jazz Museum in Harlem.
Absolutely. The New Amsterdam Musical Association, the Colored Musicians Club in Buffalo. Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah. And, it's not just about the clubs. Get them out to, the festivals and expose them to real music. Let them watch real documentaries and read books. Some of the books that are out there are just, they're filled with more than just story about the blues. It's about survival. It's about embracing life and happiness, and the blues isn't just a sad music. It's uplifting and can fill your soul.
Absolutely. It's overcoming. If nothing else, the blues is a story of overcoming, and there was a lot that had to be overcame then, and there's still a lot more we're trying to overcome right now. So the blues is definitely alive and well.
It is.
I will say this. I just received a text from Mrs. Pearlie, a.k.a. Mrs. D, and she's listening to our interview, and when you were explaining the situation with your kids and them meeting Honey Boy and what you would like people to take away from your work, the text comes, it says, sounds like our experience. So there's a parallel here, because your household sounds like our household, in other words.
How many kids do you have?
5. 3 of them live in our home.
See, I've got 2 back. Wonderful. It is.
It sure is. It really is. It's one of the whole thing about this is generations and passing down heritage and allowing, at least for us, allowing our children to know who and what and where they came from. And that's how this whole situation started for us. But this interview is not about me. Maybe one day you have me on your show and I could tell you that story. But as we wrap, we want to hear the end of not the end of your story, the end of your story for this moment, till we can have you on the show again.
Well, let me just share my one last thing, and we're talking about legacies.
Yes.
Sharing with families. I think the great thing about being in Chicago is there's so many legacy heritage families there, from Jimmy Reed's family to the Morganfield family to Holland Wolf's family to Coco Taylor's family to Little Walter's family. I mean, there's just an amazing amount. And one of my projects dear to my heart right now is called PCA Blue. You can go to pcablue.org. Buddy Guy is the spokesperson for this organization. It is an organization to help raise awareness about prostate cancer. And we are doing it through the blues. I'll be with Buddy Guy next week. He's going to be cutting a little video. His brother Phil died 3 years ago after a short diagnosis of prostate cancer. And so many of the family members, and especially in the African American community, have been hit with prostate cancer. So the concerts that we're getting ready to put on, Buddy is going to be doing 2, one in April in Memphis, one in June 12th in New Orleans, and we are working on right now May 21st in New York City, Jack.
Well, you make sure you contact me. I'll definitely be there.
Okay, well, maybe you'll have to be one of our MCs or hosts, because it is going to be called, it's going to be the Rising Sons and Daughters of the Blues. Buddy Guy's daughter, Carlise, his son, Greg, and we've got a number of other daughters and sons that are going to be a part of this incredible awareness and benefit concert for prostate cancer.
Definitely, I'm there. But we're about to go off the air and start the next show. You will be back on this show very soon.